YouTube, welcome on in. It's that time for our postseason tier list. I have Valk with me for Valk. This is the third time now, right? Or fourth time?
Yeah, I think this is the third time we've done this at the end of the season. Just
Third
to kind
time
of
with
like
the
sum
tier
up the
list.
season.
And Twitch chat and us two just made a tier list for y'all. And we're going to go through it real fast. And I'm going to give my Twitch chat boys one last chance to move units if they really want. Otherwise, I think we're chilling, right, guys? We were very behaved. No one was raging out. No one quit the stream. So we actually constructed a tier list, a generalist purpose one. It's not perfect. It kind of acknowledges legend players and bronzes. So this is for everyone, for the people. It is what it is. All right, Val, take us through the list. So we'll start at the top with what a lot of people consider the 7 great disaster row. Valk, what do you think about this tier?
Yeah, so like for a while we had a bunch of units come out back to back to back, and they were so strong to the point where it was like if you didn't summon, or if you didn't have before their buff summon for these heroes, your account just by nature was going to be a lot weaker than people who own these heroes, like regardless of gear level, right? I think we see Hand Guy being a particular like strong example of that. But overall, you can start your draft with any one of these heroes and play at least 3 different play styles and 3 different styles of drafts, right? Outside of that, you have certain heroes that can completely kill off in a mechanic, right? Rimuru kills anything that's squishy. Huayan kills anything that has too much HP. Bellion kills anything that relies on souls. And AOL kills anything that relies on buffs.
Yes. Real fast, guys, just so if you're new players from YouTube are watching, this is Para, Conqueror Lilius, Mediator Kowarik, who has 20,000 nicknames. Everyone here calls him Hand Guy. Hua Young, the newest unit released. Apocalypse Ravi, Angel of Light Angelica, Rimu the Slime collab, and then Bellion. And Valk, real fast, FCC, a lot of players may consider her an SS. I think she's considered one of the 7 great disasters. But here in global, at least in our communities, my chat and a lot of players here wanted her probably an S. Not quite in the level here, but she is very, very strong still. The best knight probably overall.
Yeah, she's definitely first pickable.
Yeah,
she's definitely first pickable, right? But the thing with FCC is like when I see my opponent pick an FCC, there's a probably like 80 to 90% chance that they're not going to cleave me. They're probably not even going to aggro me, right? So that gives me a lot of freedom to kind of think to draft mid speed, right? That 230 to 250 speed bracket, like the mid high speed where I can just kind of like play above them in whatever order I like.
Okay, so Val, anything else to say on the top tier, the SS row?
I think that's pretty much it. Like, you could pick any one of these heroes and build a strategy around them. Granted, a lot of these heroes aren't as strong, like specifically picked first, but
Yes.
in terms of shutting down what they're supposed to, they're basically the best in class at what they do.
Well said. All right, let's go to the S rank row, boys. So right below the top, the S rank, we have Fallen Cecilia, Ran, Spectre Tenebria, Archdemon Mercedes, Amelia, Landy, and Politis. And a lot of players y'all could see maybe moving some of these up to SS. But this is the second tier row, Valk. What do we say about the S rank row?
So the S rank row are heroes that are almost as strong as the double S plus tier in terms of like what they can do. So for example, at supporting a standard team, right? I think an Amelia is just as good as a Hand Guy or maybe like a C Lilius or even Para, but she doesn't let you cleave just because of the way she has to be built. She's usually not like fast enough to enable a cleave in a RTA setting. So usually she's considered like a standard and at most an aggro pick. Another example is like I think Spectre Tenebria is probably one of the most underrated like units in the game, even at single S tier. But right, with Bellion in the game, Bellion has reach against her. Bellion takes away her book. She becomes like quite weak if you take that into context.
Exactly.
But so, in a world without Bellion, right, Stenny would be an easy double S.
So depending on your playstyle and what you pre-ban, Valk, some of these units like Stenny could go up to SS. But in general, if you're not specifically pre-banning or playing around a specific unit, then that's why we have them in the S rank. Anything else, Valk, for this row?
I think that's generally a pretty good summary, right? These are units that they can be like the second piece to any type of team comp, and they'll definitely carry a lot of the team's weight whether it's like damage or whether it's like mitigation or even, in Rand's case, initiation, right?
True.
But when you pick these heroes early, what you're doing is you're telling your opponent, hey, look, I'm about to do this to you. Now you better play your defense, or now you better draft a little bit faster. Like, if your opponent can't respond to that, they're just as strong. But if your opponent has a good response to that, you're looking to fight an uphill battle.
Right. That's why they're a step below the top tier. Okay. A rank row boys, I'll go with them real fast. Lionheart Sermia, Designer Lilibet, Violet, Rem, Little Queen Charlotte, Closer Charles, who maybe chat. Is everyone cool? YouTube, let us know where y'all want to put Closer Charles. Guys, Elf Mage was saying maybe down one. Are we okay with him in A? Closer Charles, Troublemaker Crozet, Shadow Knight, Phyllis, Summer Iceria, Remnant Violet. Is it Summer? Seaside Iceria, right? What is it? Summer?
Summertime Iceria.
Ida, Pavel, Assassin Sid, Kowarik, Fire Kowarik, Green Vildred, and then Sid, Green Sid. Okay. I think let's leave him here for now because I don't see anyone in chat that's too worried about it. He could go down one, but Val, take us through the A rank row.
So the A rank row has a bunch of like what I would consider is like very universally usable unit. So for example, like a Designer Lilibet's always going to be a strong bruiser, but she's not going to be the best bruiser in every fight. Same with LQC. LQC is an okay bruiser, but she's really the best bruiser when she's fighting against a lot of tanky dark units, right?
And
so
she needs some
we
support.
look at it, yeah, she needs to be supported. So these units, I would say, they're generally okay in most scenarios, but they're the best in other scenarios. For example, if you're playing against a lot of extra attacks or counter attacks, right? Lionheart Sermia is extremely valuable in those 6 scenarios, but in other scenarios, she's about okay, you know?
Yeah.
And I would say the same about like mitigation power for Shadow Knight Phyllis as well as Troublemaker Crozet. Like most of the times, those guys are going to be able to mitigate a lot of damage, but against counterattacks, like Shadow Knight Phyllis is the best mitigator by far. Against Cleaves, Troublemaker Crozet is the best mitigator by far.
Right. They all have their kind of perks where when their matchup shines, they work really well. But for generalists, they're weaker than the SS and S because of what Valk was saying, like certain matchups, things like that. Valk, ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, B rank row, guys. We're halfway through. This is Bloodblade Karen, Flan. Some people might be surprised to see the Maid Chloe and Ruel in B. Valk, if you want to maybe, after I finish saying the names, run us through that real quick. Carrot, Arby,
Sure.
Arbiter Vildred, Sage Ball, Last Rider Crow, Spirit Eye Celine, Solitaria, Crimson Armin, Crow, Seaside Bologna, Milim, Judge Kisei, Celine, Briarwitch Iceria, Charlotte, Watcher Shuri, and Sinful Angelica. Valk, why are these 2 revivers who used to be at the top in B rank now? Why did a lot of my chat want them down?
So, Revive is like a very strong mechanic, but because of the way the game is played right now, so for example, Make Chloe, right, is particularly shut down by things like Rimuru. Against Rimuru, she really can't flex her wings just because if she pops the buffs, Rimuru steals 2 buffs. Like suddenly, like Make Chloe, that's our Make Chloe, brother, right? Something like Ruel is not very strong in this entire season. She was really strong in the off season, but coming into the season, especially with the 7 disasters, right? It was almost entirely speed units, right? The game got faster and faster and faster. Ruel is like a very low tempo, high value unit. So when your game speeds up, having low tempo just kind of means naturally, you would be at such a huge like disadvantage over time. Like your pick rate would definitely just like fall down as like a natural way the game played out.
Yep, very true. Okay. Valk, anything else to say on just this kind of middle ground tier? They're all sort of good units in their own right, but even more so than the A rank, they need to be in the right spot to shine, and they're probably the most, what do we say the B rank row is, Valk? The average row?
Say the B rank row is the average row, right? And the way I would look at most of these heroes is that they have one very strong role, and then unlike the A tier heroes where they don't have too many counters, like a B rank hero, if you pull them out too early in a draft and your opponent identifies that, they could become a huge net negative on your team, right? For example, a blue Crow is no longer accepted as a first pick knight because you can pick an A Ravi into him, injure him, he has no value. You can pick a Bellion into him, and if you're on injury, right, Bellion's just going to chip away Crow's like long-term value throughout a fight.
Mm-hmm. And just other knights in this meta kind of are preferred, like we were mentioning Shadow Knight, Pillis, and Crozet for the other things they bring to the table right now. Okay, Valk, ready to move on from B tier?
Mm-hmm.
All right, C tier, boys. Challenger Dominial, Rowana, Kisei, Falconer Clury, Operator Sigret. This is the Meru, Fire Meru skin. We just used it because I like that icon. Strays, Senya, Acades. Some of y'all might be surprised to see. ML Ricardo. What's his actual name?
Emil Kawazu.
Emil Kawazu, I was about to say correct. Zahak, Lilius, Raz, specially changed. Dizzy, Luna, This is the Glenn who, guys, he just got tested today, so we're kind of just looking at the buffs. And then Assassin Coley and Kayron. All right.
So I would say, yeah, I would say C tier hero have like the distinct identity of like being they're probably as strong as B tier heroes when they're supposed to be strong, but they have the distinct advantage of either being 1, too hard to gear, for example, like an A Coley, or like 2, you kind of have to pick them in very specific scenarios. So like Roana, Operator Sigrid, and in cases like Senya Strays, right? If you pick them too early, like they kind of expose a weakness of your draft. They give away your play style, so you're kind of expecting to pick these heroes, maybe like 4th, 3rd earliest, right? And they'll still be very strong at what they do.
Mm-hmm. Well said. All right, Valk, ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
D rank, guys, and this is pretty much it. We'll talk about these last two in a second, but D rank, the bottom of the tier list, we have Elfelt, who's coming soon. We have Elena, Fairy Tail Tenebria, General Purgus, Fire Ravi, Ambitious Tywin, Holiday Euphine, Top Model Lulika, Bad Cat, Armin. We got Mort, Blood Moon Haste, SC Momo, Montmorency, Martial Artist Ken, Specimen Says, Champion Zerata, Bazaar, Tempest Surin. This is Moonlight Rin, Crescent Moon Rin, Mursa no, not SC. Regular Mursa, there is no SC. Diane, Wanda SC, and then Fire Shuri. Valk, what is the D rank row besides being the bottom?
The D rank row is probably like the last bastion of competitively viable heroes.
Well put.
Obviously, you could play like more heroes, but I would say I would not like if you had the option, right? I would not look lower than a D rank to replace units. They all have like their niches and things that can like define their play style. For example, like Elena's very good into like anti-cleave, but we can just pick better heroes, right? We can just pick a Para to speed contest, right? If we want to tank down versus a cleave, we can pick Troublemaker Crozet plus a really tanky reviver like Apoc Ravi or make Chloe, right? So a lot of these heroes are strong, but you could probably find better replacements for what they do up higher on the tier list.
I like we said the last bastion. It's like, guys, they're the units that are picked last for team dodgeball, right? They're the last resort. They can still do their job, but you want to try to pick these units first if you have a choice. Now, Valk, this might be our first unit that Chad is actually wondering. I don't even know why. Was it you that put her in D? Bad Cat Armin, boys. D or lower. She's kind of new. She hasn't been fully tested. I'm sure someone in YouTube is going to be like, she's insane, Car. I'm going crazy with her. But I think a lot of us aren't a fan of her kit so far. Should she be moved out of D rank row?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't even own this hero, so I have no clue. But every like player that I've talked to, and I have respect for their opinion. It's like, she's not really a hero.
So guys, probably D rank or waiting room. Let's go ahead and just leave her at the bottom. D, just give her, a little bit of, a little faith. Let's see. Maybe YouTube will tell us, guys, because my chat is saying, they're saying D or waiting room. Okay. Now, Valk, we've kind of finished the D rank row, the last bastion of hope, you said. Waiting room, boys. These are units. There's all these units are essentially waiting room, but we selected a few just because maybe they're a little more popular, more relevant at the moment. Mainly the Moonlight 5s that were not placed. These are kind of needing buffs, guys. Yes, SBA can pop off in the right hands, but for the most part, she does need buffs. DJB, kind of weaker than some of the other Soul Reavers at the moment, even though he got mega buffed, or not mega buffed, but he did get buffed in the past. Dark Corvus, same thing, guys. No RTA relevance. This is a real-time arena tier list. Valk, anything else to say? Last call on the waiting room?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there, right? That's generally pretty good takes. But the one thing that I kind of want to just tag onto at the end there is that, regardless of like where heroes you want to play fall on the tier list, right? Note that like a lot of our opinions, right? Especially, the ones like that have a big voice on Twitch are like people who are playing for the extremely high end in terms of like competitiveness, right? So for players who are just trying to hit masters for the skin, or if you're just trying to hit champ to be at where like I would say a lot of the competitive player base is, you don't really have to like look on the list or even like go super high up on the list to do that, right? You just pick the heroes you like, and as long as you're not playing at the utmost highest level of hero pool and gear and draft knowledge, like a lot of these heroes are going to be able to succeed. Like, absolutely.
And all these units here too, guys, probably viable up to champ, emperor, maybe even legend. There's some of you here that you can just pick out and you've seen a legend player use them. But for the most part, if you just go from the top to the bottom, The higher up you pick, you'll probably have a better and easier time. Less counters, right? More powerful units are usually seen up here. So even in Master's Tier, if you want to pick from the higher up, you'll probably have a little bit of an easier time, but there are so many viable units for sure. And then last but not least, Valk, we have the not released yet. Everyone's going to ask, where does ML Flan lie? Who knows, boys? She's a really weird unit. Valk, do you have a quick take on her? Any thoughts real fast?
So I talked to a lot of people about this, right? And the one conclusion we came to is that she seems very powerful on paper, but the problem is her kit comprised half of like an initiator's kit and half of like a connection unit's kit, right? So think about, she's like halfway between like a Para Ran, and she's halfway between a Caesarea and those units.
Okay.
So she doesn't intuitively combo into any of those like meta heroes that we have teams of, right?
Her kit
so
is
at the
out of place,
moment,
yeah.
if I had to like make a hypothesis, she's probably like low C tier, right? But in the future, if a really good husband ever comes out for her, right? One of those heroes that they just combo together naturally, like Ran Caesarea, right? I think she's going to be an absolute force just because of the damage she's able to output.
And that's what happened with Caesarea, right? When before Ran came out, a lot of people viewed her kind of lower, and then she all of a sudden got activators and was insane. For me, though, just watch my first impression video, guys. Valk is obviously viewing her through an aggressive or cleave lens. She maybe has potential as a bruiser because of the S2 passive. We'll see for sure. I'll test her in that way, but it might be copium. It might not be actually viable. Anyways, I think that wraps it up. Valk, any last words?
No, that'll be everything. Thank you for having me on today, man.
Of course, brother. Guys, as always, we're going to have an interview with Valk soon showing his account. He hit legend this season, so make sure you check him out. You already know him by now if you've been to my channel, but I'll leave all his info below. Twitch chat, thanks for hanging. We were pretty well behaved today, I'll be honest. Not as toxic or spicy as usual. I love my Twitch, guys, even though I don't show it all the time. All right, Valk, let's say bye to YouTube.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.